Welcome back, deep divers. Ready to uncover some ancient secrets. Today we're diving deep into the Eye of Horus, and trust me, this is going to be fascinating.
Oh, absolutely, the Eye of Horus. It's not just an image, it's like a portal into ancient Egyptian beliefs about duality, the cosmos, and even life and death and rebirth.
Sounds intense. But before we get too deep, can we start with the basics? What exactly does the Eye of Horus, represent?
So, at its core, it represents the sun and moon. Think of them as the eyes of the falcon god, Horus.
Horus, the falcon god.
Right, exactly. His right eye, the solar eye, is the eye of Ra, represents the sun, of course. And the left eye, that's the lunar eye, the eye of Thoth, that one embodies the moon.
Okay, so we've got sun, moon, two eyes. There's definitely a theme of opposites here, right? Light and dark, masculine and feminine.
You got it. It's all about that balance, that interplay between seemingly opposite forces. That duality was central to ancient Egyptian thought. It's not about one force being better or stronger, it's about their constant dance, how they work together.
I see. So it's more than just what each eye represents on its own. It's about their connection, the relationship between them.
Exactly. And that's where the myth of Osiris comes in, adds a whole other layer.
Oh, yeah, Osiris. Okay, so remind me, what was his story again?
Well, Osiris, he was murdered by his brother Set. His body, ripped apart into 14 pieces.
14. That's a pretty specific number. Any significance there?
Oh, absolutely. Think about the lunar cycle, right? It takes about 14 days for the moon to go from full to new. That dismemberment of Osiris, it's often linked to that waning moon, symbolizing death, going down into the underworld.
Ah, okay, I get it. Osiris's body parts scattered, just like the moon disappearing a little each night. But where does the Eye of Horus fit into this whole death and, well, dismemberment thing?
Right, so Horus, Osiris' son, eventually he battles Set and defeats him, restores balance to the world. And the Eye of Horus, specifically the left eye, the wedget, it becomes the symbol of that wholeness, of healing, of Osiris coming back to life.
Wait, so the lunar eye, the one associated with darkness in the underworld, it represents wholeness and resurrection. That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a theme. It's like an echo across tons of different cultures and beliefs. Think about the Christian Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Oh, wow, yeah. The Father, kind of like Osiris, a powerful figure.
Hmm.
Then you have the Son, who is sacrificed and comes back to life. And the Holy Spirit, that's like the wedget, right? Healing and restoration.
Spot on. And it's not just Christianity either. Mesopotamian mythology, they have Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. Same thing in Babylonian mythology, same trio.
It makes you wonder, were all these cultures tapping into some kind of universal human experience, expressing it through these Trinity figures?
Yeah, it's a question that's been around for a long time, and it gets even more interesting, right? These dying and rising gods, Osiris, Tammuz, Adonis, Attis, they were all supposedly born on December 25th.
December 25th, hold on, that's Christmas.
Exactly. And these ancient myths, they were tied in with all these fertility rituals, the cycle of vegetation, spring, coming back to life after winter. Sound familiar?
Are you saying that Christmas, it's just a reimagining of ancient fertility festivals?
Let's just say that a lot of our modern celebrations, they have roots that go way, way back. Even Santa Claus, jolly, bringing gifts. He's got echoes of figures like Saturn, Roman god of agriculture and abundance. Saturnalia, that was his festival, a time for partying and gift-giving.
Okay, so if these ancient cultures were celebrating, the rebirth of the sun, the light coming back during the darkest part of the year,
Then it makes sense that the Eye of Horus, right, representing both the sun and moon, it could also represent this spiritual awakening, a connection to something bigger than ourselves. And that leads us to the idea of the third eye.
wait, the third eye, you mean the one people talk about activating through meditation and spiritual stuff?
That's the one. The third eye, a source of inner vision, deep spiritual insight. That concept, it's shown up throughout history, from shamanism to tantric yoga.
So you're saying the Eye of Horus could be considered like an ancient version of the third eye idea?
It's definitely a fascinating possibility. Both of them, they embody this power to see beyond the physical world to access a higher state of consciousness. And a lot of these traditions, they aimed to, kind of induce an altered state, a subjective connection with the divine.
This is blowing my mind. We've gone from the sun and moon to death and rebirth, from Christmas to the third eye. Where do we even go from here?
To really dig deeper into the symbolism of the Eye of Horus, we got to explore some uncharted territory, and that's where the Baphomet comes in.
The Baphomet. Isn't that a goat-headed deity? What does that have to do with the Eye of Horus?
See, that's where things get really interesting. But that's a story for part 2 of our deep dive. So the Baphomet, right. Goat head, human body. People get it wrong all the time.
Yeah, I gotta admit, my first thought is like devil worship.
That's the misconception. It's not about that at all. It's about balance. Bringing together things that seem like opposites.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
But how does a goat-headed figure represent balance?
Look closer. The Baphomet, it has both male and female characteristics. Like merging those two, the masculine and the feminine. It's kind of like that saying, as above, so below. That goes with the Baphomet too.
I see, bringing those different forces together.
Exactly. And visually, right, it's the circle and the dot. Circle all-encompassing, that's feminine. Dot inside, the masculine.
Okay, yeah, I see that connection. But how does this tie back to the Eye of Horus? We've gone from, like, the sun and moon to a goat-headed dot being.
So that's the cool part. One way to look at Baphomet, the word itself, is that it might be messed up Greek. From Sophia, meaning wisdom.
Wisdom. So the Baphomet, even though it looks kind of scary, could actually be about, like, searching for knowledge, just like the Eye of Horus.
That's a different way to look at it, right? But symbols, they often have lots of meanings layered on top of each other. And this wisdom thing, it gets even more interesting when you bring in someone like Aleister Crowley.
Hold up, Aleister Crowley? The, like, occultist guy? What's he got to do with all this?
Crowley, he was a Freemason. He really identified with the Baphomet. For him, it was about initiation, a symbol of the devil. But the devil as the one who brings knowledge, even forbidden knowledge.
Wait, the devil giving knowledge. That seems a little, backwards.
That's what's so great about these ancient symbols. They mess with your expectations, make you think about stuff you might not be comfortable with. Crowley's point, it was that knowledge can be dangerous, especially when it goes against what society says.
So Crowley saw the Baphomet as, like, a key to unlock secret knowledge, even if it was taboo.
Yeah, you could say that. And he tied this into the Hebrew letter I, means I. It's the 16th letter, which in their number system reduces down to 7. And that number 7, that's big in Freemasonry.
Are you talking about the G they use?
You got it. 7th letter of the alphabet, right? In Freemasonry, it can mean God, geometry, or gnosis, which is Greek for knowledge. The Pythagoreans, they had this motto, all is number. Numbers have hidden meanings. There's a sacred geometry to the universe. And 7, because of ion and the G, it's like the key to that hidden stuff.
Wow. Okay, from the Eye of Horus to the Baphomet to Hebrew letters to Freemasons, now to, like, Pythagorean numerology. It's like every symbol leads to another one.
That's the fun of this, right? It's not about finding the one right answer. It's about seeing how these old ideas are all connected, like a puzzle.
So where does the Eye of Horus fit back in? We've wandered pretty far from our starting point.
Remember, the Eye of Horus, we were saying it's about spiritual awakening, seeking knowledge. Well, in Norse myths, you've got Odin, god of wisdom. He gives up one of his eyes for knowledge.
So both the Eye of Horus and Odin sacrificing his eye, they show how much people want wisdom. They're willing to pay a price to understand things better.
That's it. And Odin's eye, a lot of times it's connected to the sun. In alchemy, that represents enlightenment, spiritual growth,
I'm seeing the connections now. Sun, enlightenment, wisdom. It all comes back to the Eye of Horus being able to see more than just what's in front of you.
And Horus was called the morning star too, remember? And that little phrase, it brings us to a whole other level of symbolism. Might surprise you.
The morning star. Rings a bell, but I can't quite. What's the link?
Well, for that, we'll have to wait for the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've explored the Eye of Horus. We've delved into the Baphomet, journeyed from ancient Egypt to Norse mythology, and now the morning star. I'm ready. Hit me with it.
Morning star, right? It's a confusing one for a lot of people for a long time. In the Bible, Jesus, he calls himself the bright and morning star, a symbol of hope and salvation.
Right, the morning star, guiding light, all that. But I think you were suggesting there's more to it.
There is. Planet Venus, it's often called the morning star because it shines so brightly right before sunrise and after sunset.
Okay, so Jesus, Venus, both called the morning star. I'm still not seeing, like, where this is going. How does it connect back to Horus and his eye?
Well, remember, Horus was also called the morning star, so that links him to Jesus and to Venus. Divinity, beauty, enlightenment, kind of all mixed up together.
Huh. It's crazy how one little phrase can have so many different meanings. Mythology, astronomy, even spirituality.
Exactly. And each of those meanings, they add something to how we understand the Eye of Horus. It's not just about, seeing with your eyes. It's about inner vision, spiritual awakening, maybe even that search for knowledge that Odin went through.
So it's like the Eye of Horus, it's almost like a tool to see all these complicated ideas and how they connect.
That's a good way to put it. It reminds us that those ancient symbols, they're often like gateways to deeper truths, make you question things, explore, see the connections for yourself.
This has been an incredible journey. We've covered so much ground. As we wrap up our deep dive into the Eye of Horus, is there a final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I guess it's to think about how these ancient symbols, these myths and stories, how do they still speak to us today in the modern world? What can they teach us about ourselves, about, searching for meaning in life?
That's a really profound question. It makes you realize that these ancient beliefs, those symbols, they aren't just things of the past. They still have something to tell us across time and cultures. They whisper secrets about who we are, about the universe. And to all our deep divers out there, I encourage you to keep exploring, keep asking those questions. Search for those hidden connections that light up our world.